beautiful day today. There are clouds, but still it shows that the upcoming hours it's gonna be sunny. And outside is a bit, even though a bit windy, but it's warm. I feel like a pilot doing an announcement before a takeoff. That's weird. Actually thinking in the past that I would not be interested in the weather at all. I would just go out. I would just prepare myself for the conditions which are in the apartment and then just go out. So I would sometimes get caught in the rain. Sometimes it would be so windy and sometimes it would be too warm or too cold. And I think today also I didn't do so well. On the up part that I have layers, but I wore my hiking jeans and boots. So I'm afraid that might be too warm. But we'll see. These days the weather is fluctuating. I'm going in the direction of Ghent. I just found a easy hiking route, something with street art. I'll see. I'm not looking for something, it's just for sake of doing something. So I'm gonna have a 1 hour drive and maybe more than an hour of walk and then another hour to come back. Didn't I overtake this truck? Why it's again in front of me? Maybe this is his friend. It was the same truck. Yesterday I had I'm gonna call it incident, but not an incident, like a situation in the traffic with the roundabout. I mentioned it yesterday. Maybe I was too quick to mention that it was just something happened for 5 minutes and it was just gone. But it seems that it's still lingering in the system even after a day. So what happened, it's one of those roundabouts close to my place. That means that I'm just starting to driving. It's not even 5 minutes. Because this is it's a new car for me. And I'm getting used to driving with one pedal. So that takes some time for me get used to it right after driving for the first time for the day or after some time. But anyway, I was approaching a roundabout and one car was exiting, signaling the exit, and another car on the other side was entering the roundabout. So I couldn't decide if I wanted to just quickly enter before this other one or just give away and just take it easy. So that is always that's always a trouble for the roundabout. Actually, it was one of those strong warnings that I got from my instruction at the time, 4 years ago. And he pulled me aside, told me, what were you doing? Because I entered the roundabout a bit faster. I was supposed to give way, but I just entered. And I told him, like, I thought that I could go before he would reach. He said, you don't think of these things, you just look. that was also one of those experiences that I was told not to think. It's like, okay. But anyway, since that time, still I'm having those small actions with the roundabouts. Either I will wait for too long, there will be times that I will wait for too long. And if I would have someone behind me, I would even feel more pressured, both because I'm waiting, so that makes me feel like I'm not doing something well, I'm not good enough. And another thing, it would be, of course, I'm making them wait, so it's a moment that is packed with a lot of things. And also there will be times that I will try to prove myself that I can do it, and I will do it so fast. But that's also not good. So when I do it so slow, it's also a problem. It feels like I'm not good at this, and so it suddenly becomes about a question of my value, my worth. And imagine how many roundabouts that I passed so far. So it's each time it's a moment of judgment of my value. And there will be times that I will say, okay, I will prove it to you, I worth something, you know. I'm not worthless, and I will just jump in the road. But that would be again wrong, because it means that I did something impulsively. That means I would either enter the roundabout where I'm not supposed to, or I would think that I can handle it, you know. Even though somebody is already in the roundabout, is in the circle, so following the rules, I'm supposed to let them pass or see if I'm not gonna block their way, even though technically as a possibility that I can just go really fast and just not block them, but that is still causing some glitch in the flow. And there were times that I got even honks. That was shameful. Yeah, the sad part also is like, I know I did something wrong, you know. I wish that they would just forgive me, you know. They were like, okay, you were doing your best, and this happened, but to me it feels like their reaction, it's to, in quotes, to a bad guy, you know, who's doing that on purpose, you know. It's like they're doing it intentionally. They are taking their way. They are not patient to give them the way, and so forth and so on. But from my point of view, the story is completely different. I believe that, of course, includes my assumption about bad guys, that they are doing it intentionally. Like they don't see, or they don't want to like give it away to them. So even though on the surface it looks similar, but I assume that my motivation of doing that, it's different than what, in quotes again, that bad person would do. But the reaction on the other side, it's to a bad guy, I feel. And that puts me in a position of a bad guy, but I'm not a bad guy. Like I'm not doing them to steal their way. I'm not doing that because I'm better than them, that they have to wait for me, that I don't have to wait for them. So for me, the motivation, the intention behind that impulse, it's different than, it's other than the bad guy. But of course on the surface it's the same. The other person is not gonna see what is happening in my car. They just see it from their side and based on their experience. So they will honk or react in that way. Their reaction would be for a bad guy, and because of that, I think that would also put me in a position of a bad guy, which will be sad in two ways, because I'm already failing something. I'm failing in my own way, and like I failed myself. I disappointed myself already, but I'm also disappointing you. Yeah, so I was saying, I wish at those times they could be more forgiving, or not more, but a little bit forgiving, have some tolerance, have some understanding. Like I'm not trying to be a bad guy. In some sense, you can see it that like, I am not claiming that I know how to drive. It's just like, I am still experimenting about the timing, because I have a pressure on both sides. Like this guy in the roundabout thinks that I should wait, but this guy behind me thinks that I should move. That's my perception, of course. I don't know what is happening in their car either. That is such a challenging position. Like, how I can make you both happy? It's like the things you both ask are like complete opposite of each other. You're pulling me in different directions, completely different directions. And physically, tactically, that is not possible. Either I wait or I move on. So one of you is not gonna be happy about this. And sadly, in all those possibilities, I am suffering. Like, I'm suffering because I let down one of them. I cannot satisfy both of them. And here, of course, I need that confidence that if I know what is the right thing to do in that roundabout, like if I know the exact right thing to do, like the moment that I'm entering the roundabout, that was the right time. Or when I'm waiting is the right thing to do. I'm waiting. So this other guy behind me can do whatever he wants, because I know the right thing there is to just wait. It's not yet my turn to enter the roundabout. Or if I know what the right time to enter the roundabout, then I just do it. This other guy, even if he is bothered by it, it's his problem. So here it's not easy at all. It's not easy. Yeah, the rule book says what is in the roundabout has a priority, but the rule book doesn't fit the real life 100%. And the moments that I'm talking about, it's when there is traffic. Like, it's huge traffic. Like, imagine there are 4 entries and exits to the roundabout. And all 4 of them, like all the roads which are surrounding the roundabout, they're all full of cars. And here is gonna be a bit of a different story. There are gonna be some exceptions. You cannot apply the book as is. So the most extreme case, it would be like even today while having the short walk before the ride, I saw there was a bus. Even though there was no traffic, the roundabout was almost empty. There was a bus, big bus, huge bus, was about to enter the roundabout, and another car was already in the roundabout, and it gave the way. It was like, okay boss, you're the boss, go in, you're big, you're huge, you know, you don't have the agility to jump in the roundabout. So I'm gonna take this as an opportunity to be nice, collect some karma points, go in. Okay, that was good. And that also happens during traffic, which is even worse. Like, there are sometimes trucks, those big vehicles, for them it's not as easy as other passenger cars, small cars, to just jump in the roundabout. They have to jump because they don't want to block the traffic, but they also don't want to wait forever. But those trucks, those big vehicles, they cannot do that. They are huge. Like, either they will be bad guys, they will just use their size and, you know, just go in, even though they are supposed to wait. Or on the other side of the equation, it will be someone nice. They will use their position to be in the roundabout. They will block everybody else behind them, and they will be nice and give way to this big truck. Which is okay. I think nobody will go against that. They will not, like, nobody behind him or whatever, they're gonna be like, how dare you do this? But what happened to the rule? The car which was in the roundabout already had a priority. So this I just shared to make the point that, like, the rules are good, but their life does not function in a way that you can apply the book 100% all the time. I was not expecting of myself to talk about the roundabout in this detail, but it's a good example that it's already packed with a lot of things that could be even unpacked further. But I will leave it to that and come back to the initial point. Yeah, yesterday I made a mistake. I couldn't decide that if I want to stop completely and wait for this other guy, the second car, to just go in. And because the thing was that, like, we could enter the roundabout at the same time. So he was on my left side. So I couldn't decide it, and so what happened? I just stayed in the middle. So half of the car, my nose, is in the roundabout, and I'm just stopping there. It's just stopping like 1 meter behind. So it looks like the roundabout has 2 lanes, imagine, and I'm blocking the 1 lane. So I'm not entering the roundabout completely, but I'm not giving the way completely either. So I'm doing something as it was happening in my mind. I couldn't decide. I just stayed in the middle. And of course, I don't know the story of the guy. and he made a hand gesture. It was like, so he was not happy with what I was doing. How could he know what I was going through at that moment? And so it feels that if he knew, maybe he would have some understanding, some tolerance. But who has time for that? Why I am mentioning all of this? Why the roundabout story all over again? Because it lingered a bit, and since that happened, I realized that my system is reacting. There is something there. It's not so strong, but it's something there. So it feels like, how to say, imagine that you're pulling something from a hole. You have the head of it, you have like the tip of it. And you're just pulling a bit, you see, oh, something else is coming out. So it's something like that. It's not just like it's a small thing you remove it and it's done. It has a tail. Like I feel that my system is pulling it out and something is coming with it. So what is coming with it? There are a few things that it reminds me. And of course there is this energy wants to be released because there is an annoyance there. So let's wrap up the roundabout story. There is nothing wrong with what the guy did, and I made a mistake there. So I was either fully supposed to just go in the roundabout and just wait completely and make it safe for him to just pass the round, go his way. So I'm not discussing about that one. That is a closed case. But why this is interesting? This case, like it has a shape. What is happening here? It has a shape, and my system is reacting to this shape. So actually, it doesn't know the right or wrong. It's just reacting to the shape because the shape looks like some other things. So what this shape looks like? So this shape looks like that, like I want to do something, but other people or the system, external system, it's not allowing it. It's not accepting it. So at that moment, we can think of it like I want to express indecisiveness, you know? So I'm not entering the roundabout and I am not stopping fully. This is my position. This is the position I want to take. But the system is not allowing this. This is like, it's a quantum computer, you know. It's not a 0, it's not a 1. But the system outside works like a traditional computers. It's either 0 or 1. So it's not letting me to express myself in that middle state, you know, in the middle case. It's not giving me that freedom. It says like you need to take a position. You're either a 0 or a 1. You cannot stay 0.5. You cannot stay somewhere in the middle because system is not designed for that. If you're close to, like if you're 0.7, you're already 1. If you're 0.1, maybe you're already 1. So something like that. And I feel that my system is reacting to that. Like, how is this not something that I can have? You know, like how is it possible? And this is coming with many other things together. As I said, it has a tail. So some of the things that my mind was just like surfacing, bringing some other memories that would be linked to this, or they have similar shape. For example, like one thing it would be, I used to have a colleague at work and also a software engineer, and like triple times more experienced than me. And I joined his project, he was the lead. And we were having some conversations, and I would have some ideas. The details of that's not important. They can be accepted, they cannot be accepted. That's not important. So what it would be, one of the arguments that he would use be like, what was it? Like something in the line, not taking responsibility there, like just giving away that influence. He was like delegating that decision making. He was in a way putting it, this is not for us to think, you know, this is already decided by other people and we're just doing it this way. So even if he would agree with me, still he would just delegate that. He would just remove himself from the decision making. He would just accept what was already decided and pushed top down. That would happen once in a while, and that it would be like, it would annoy me. It would annoy me. It's like, or the way that he would put it, or the way it was handled, it would annoy me. And another thing, which is also interesting, it was something separate. It was something not directly related to him. It was something that I already had years ago, but it was probably some of a discussion that probably I was going through this thing again, and so there was an exchange with this also. So for example, about the red light in traffic. I wasn't a driver at the time, I was pedestrian. Only pedestrian, not as a driver. So I was experiencing the traffic light in a way. So also that was the experience in Sweden and in Poland. I think I remember at the time, if I would pass the cross path, the zebra path, when it's a red light, I could get a fine from the police or officials. And that didn't make sense at all to me. So here one thing is also clear. I am not discussing if the red light should be there or not. Red light is there, it has a purpose. It's a rule. It's a red light, you wait. When it's green, you go. But there are places again, so the rule on the book, it's perfect. Nobody argues this. Nobody has an objection to this. But in real life, there are streets, there are places, there are times. There are no cars at all. There is no traffic. But there is a red light. I want to cross the path. I want to cross the street, but there is a red light. And I see the whole way. It's not like a turn, you know. I see the way ahead. I see on this side nothing coming, on this side nothing going. So it's like I am the only person on the road, on the street. So what is it like? Am I gonna stay until it will be green? This feels like an insult on my intelligence, on my capacity. I'm not discussing about the validity of having a red light in traffic. I'm just saying, in these circumstances, the rule book has no meaning. And of course, I wasn't going into this much detail with him. And when the red traffic light thing came out, he said like, yeah, of course you shouldn't pass, because it's not just for you. You're also putting the drivers in danger in case you pass, and what if they hit you? You know? So you're putting them in danger, not just yourself. That was a good point. It might be that I wasn't a driver at the time, I couldn't think of it. I was like, oh, okay, this is a good point. It makes sense. It's not just like because I was thinking in terms of like, this is my life and I should be able to take a decision on that also. I agreed with him. It was right. Okay, this is good. This is a good point. That increased my trust in the red light. I was like, okay, this rule has some validity. It has some points. It protects both the driver and the pedestrian at the same time. But again, that doesn't explain the part with the empty road. There is nobody, right? I'm using my own judgment. I look at the side, I look at that side, etc., etc. So I feel like, okay, I could safely pass this part. Like, I don't want to delegate that decision making to somebody. Like, that red light doesn't make any sense here at this point. And to me, I don't want to follow that just for sake of following the rule. I'm not against the rule, but I say there are exceptions. But here again, what's happening? The bad guy, it's ruining that for everybody. And so there might be people who are like really supposed to wait in the red light. As he said, maybe he's gonna put himself in danger irresponsibly, but it's not just gonna be his life, but he's gonna also put other people's life in danger. No driver wants to be challenged not to hit somebody, you know? So that bad guy is ruining this again, because that bad guy example, it's not leaving any gray area in this. So because again, the system is not able to work with the middle thing. It's not like a quantum computer. You cannot have a middle state. You either say passing at the red light is not allowed, or it's allowed. You cannot list all those ways that somebody could use their own judgment. That is a limitation that we have at this point in the way that we are handling the reality. So what happens that, like, okay, the system handles the case of this bad guy, but it also caused troubles for me, I would say. It's not having a tolerance for the way that I would like to experience the reality or live my life. And to me, okay, maybe for that colleague, for him it makes life easier. For him it's all good, he's all happy. He's like, okay, I didn't have to think about this. Somebody else did the thinking for me, and they already did the decision making. I'm all good. I'm free. I am free from all of that trouble. Somebody else did it for me, and I would just follow it. I would not question it. So I will use my resources for something else. This one I just accept. The way that I see it, it makes sense for me. Okay, no more questioning of this. I lost what I was gonna say. I even lost what I was saying. It's like, for him, it's fine. He's experiencing his life and reality that way, and it works for him. Good for him. But for other people who would like to experience life differently, I would like to say, like, not the bad guys. I'm not a bad guy. I don't want to put my life in danger and other people's life in danger. So what happens here? There are a few things. Like, one person, I would say, in the example of the colleague, he wants to delegate that responsibility. He's like, I don't want to deal with this. Somebody else handles this for me, and I accept it. In bad guy situation, it's like I would dare to call irresponsible. He's putting his life and also other people's life in danger. But there is also the case I would use to describe how I feel it. It's a responsible case, like want to have the responsibility for its own decision making. So of course this would be scary for my colleague. He would like, how you could have the right judgment, Why would we trust your judgment? How you can guarantee to me that you will not be a bad guy? He's right in a way, I cannot guarantee that. So what happened here? I am at the point of roundabout all over again. Somebody behind me pushes me. That would be my own judgment. Like, I want to pass the street when there is nothing around. I have 99% confidence that, like, this is a place that it fits, that this rule doesn't make any sense, and I could act on my own initiative. But on the other side, I have people who want me to follow the rule, and they would think that if I don't do that, I'm a bad guy, and they would honk, they would react. They would be like, how dare you? You pass at the red light. You're putting not just your life in danger, you're putting our life also in danger. So what happens here, there is something interesting also in this. This rule of the red light, when you see it that way, for me it's not so clear. Is it protecting the pedestrian or is it protecting the driver? It's protecting who? On initial look, it looks like it's protecting the pedestrian. But I'm not so sure of that. I think this is, of course, in this example, it maybe it's not fitting exactly to make my point, but there are these kind of circumstances that people who are making the rule, they are protecting themselves, but the way they protect themselves, it limits other people. So how to make that clear? That I would say, in that case with my colleague, he protect himself from the burden of making a decision, taking an initiative. He protect himself by delegating that, but while he does that, he enables me to take the responsibility for something that he didn't want to take. So those were just two examples with the workplace making some technical decisions, and another thing it would be with the traffic light. You may find exceptions in those and find other arguments to convince me in another way, but that's not the point. These are just examples that I'm using to make the case. Sometimes people make decisions, make rules to protect themselves, but they put it in a different dress and they say this is to protect the other side or other person. And that, I don't buy it. I don't want to buy it. And to make that even clearer, I would say, like, we can think of this also in parent and child relationship again. So, for example, we know there are some parents who are overprotective, that we call them, we label them. They're overprotective. And when you ask what they're doing, they will say, I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this for the child, you know? Like, let's say they will not leave that person for a trip. Or actually, I will use two simple examples from my own life that just at the moment pop up in my mind. So one of them, for example, I was in Sweden on a car trip by myself. And my father would not constantly, but keep checking on me. I was staying in the car, so it was a car camping adventure. I was doing something crazy. I don't know. So he was sending me those messages. And even giving me call and like, yeah. I think I got irritated at that point, and what I remember that his motivation was like, even if it might be at that time or it was some other time, but it was the similar situation, that he said like, he's worried about me, that I'm alone on the way, you know, outside, and something could happen to me. Yeah, that's true, something could happen to me. You're worried, but about who? About me or about yourself? Yeah, it seems that you're worried about me, but I would say that you're worried about yourself. I would not be 100% sure of this, but it seems to be that way. And another example, it would be, not to make things more personal, but like, I think we have all that story, like child wants to go somewhere and parent doesn't allow them. I mean, of course there might be justifications that like child, it might be dangerous, but child wants to do. But I mean, even most of time, even for innocent things, of course there is always possibility of danger. And like, I remember a story from a friend, a colleague. Their mother were not allowing them, or like maybe not allowing them, but like pressuring them not to go outside when it was raining, because something could happen to them. That, for example, I would call overprotective behavior. And so what happens here again? that mother would put it in a way that they are protecting the child, but actually they're protecting themselves from the possibility of something that could happen to their beloved child. And I wouldn't expect any overprotective mother would accept this. And I cannot prove it. Again, I could only say from my own experiences in similar situations. I'm not saying 100% is always like this. I'm just saying that, like, when on the surface it looks like that we are protective of the other person when we are thinking about them, when our behavior looks like that we are thinking of them, for them, that's not always the complete truth. I will not say it's a lie, but it's not the complete truth. So what is all of this then? We talk about the roundabout and talk about the mother, and so sometimes the relationship between parent and a child, the relationship between an like employer and employee, let's call it that way, and the governments or like the countries or the systems and the citizens, sometimes it worked like this because I mean, family is the smallest unit, right? And when the families are coming together, it's becoming a society, it becomes a community, it becomes a country. So you would see the same mentality would not just stay in the family. So that mother who says like, you should not go out when it's raining, you're gonna hurt yourself. So that's that mentality, not as is, but that idea behind that behavior, it's gonna move to a higher level. And when enough of those people would come together, they can implement similar ideas and saying now that like we are doing this for citizens, you know, this is for you. That it seems that I have a bit of a problem with it. My system reacts to that. Because to me it feels that doesn't enable me. Because in a free society you expect that like the government or like those structures in society, they are supposed to enable you, right? That's what you would call a free society. But when that it disables you, enables you in a different package, you know, it says I do this for you. These rules are there to protect you. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. I mean, I don't buy it this part, like what I don't buy it. It's, I trust them that it is to protect me. There is some way of protection in that. That's true. I mean, nobody is evil here. There is a protection there. But to me, it's just they're walking the half of the path. It's not all of it. The protection, yep. As I mentioned, you can protect someone by putting them in a prison, right? You're protecting them. This is for you. And actually, that we can also, as we said it now, I think my mind wants to get there. Like when we put somebody in a prison, who do we protect? Like, it's for who? Is it for the person who committed a crime? Or is it for the people outside? Or when you ask this way, it sounds different, but when you ask it this way, for who that we put that bad person, or not bad person, but the person who committed crime, we put in prison, for who? Is it for society? Is it for the person who was killed or murdered? It's for his beloved ones? It's for who? It may not be just one answer, but I think at some level, it is to protect society. So again, if we dig into that like that, we may come up in places where that rule just doesn't work to protect society from bad people. I mean, people who have potential of committing such crimes. But it works in a way that enables people, even though there might be like really, really like low percentage, I would say. But that we cannot eliminate that. So that means that we are simplifying the reality, just ignoring that small percentage. And to make this more concrete, I would like to connect this with another example. This example belongs to in some other conversation, but I think it fits here also. So for example, when I was in Sweden, this is just one example, but I think it works in many different. It's just a mindset, and this example is just a fruit of that mindset. So in Belgium, I run into places that I did not see the sign, "Don't make fire here." But what caught my attention, there were places, it says, "Make fire here." You know? They had a place, they even had, in some places I saw, they had even wood. They were like, "Make fire here." And this is one approach, right? Of course, nobody wants to have a possibility of causing fire in nature. We would not want that. And what it would be in a protective manner, it would be easiest to just ban, you know, no fire at all. Nowhere in nature open fire is allowed. Okay, easy peasy. you're not gonna have to deal with random fires in nature, you know. If you forbidden all peoples, everybody, if you take that chance away from them, so you eliminate all the fires that could be caused by people. At least majority. There would be some exceptions still, like, and we would call them bad people, right? Or who know the rule, but they are like still going on their own way. They're not respecting. That is one approach, and I think some systems they do that. They forbid the whole thing completely. They don't want to deal with exceptions and such and such. So, for example, this system I call this protective system. It seems I'm doing something for you. I'm protecting your nature, right? By asking you not to do something. So it's the same example again with the mother. Don't go outside when it's raining. I'm thinking of you. Something is gonna happen to you. So this is disabling, I would call it. But in the example of Sweden, what I like, it's enabling. It's enabling you. It's addressing the problem. Okay, nobody wants to have fire caused by human in nature. We don't want to have accidents. But Sweden also recognized that as a need, or as a part of humanity's freedom, as a human right. I don't know how to put it, but they recognize it. That is something that people want to do. So they're like, how we can solve this problem, you know? So this, to me, it would be a good way to solve those conflicting needs, right? So on one side, I don't want to have fire caused in nature. On another side, there are people who want to have build fire in nature. So this is not like, it's not putting the government against the person. This is not like a parent-child relationship. This is like in Sweden's example is an adult-to-adult relationship. One adult says like, I don't want to have fire caused in nature. And it's the same adult in a different position. It says like, I also would like to build fire in nature. So this seems to be conflicting, or they are potentially conflicting desires. But Sweden somehow takes them in an adult-to-adult relationship and handles them. It says, okay, I'm gonna do something for that need, and also I'm gonna do something for that need. So to put them together, they could coexist. They are not opposites. They can go together. But in this other system, which is behaving like parent-child relationship between citizens and the government, as an example, this could be in any level. It could be in a company. It could be in a government. It could be in a society. In every level. So that it acts like this overprotective parent. It says no fire allowed. We're not gonna take this chance at all. So what it does, it dismisses this other need completely. So that's why I liked when I saw that in Sweden. They are like, don't build fire or make fire in nature, but just do it here, you know? So do it here. What will happen? What does that mean? What I understand from that is like, there is a potential that like could be a fire hazard, and we put the spot here, so not to disable you, but to enable you to do it in a safe manner. Of course, for us it would be easier to just ban that completely, to not allow you at all. But no, instead we're gonna go the full path and make all the effort. We're gonna enable you to do it in a safe way, because we trust you. We know that you are like, this is the adult relationship, right? It's a trusting relationship. It says like, we trust you that you don't have an intention to burn the forest down. Like, we assume, we start from the trust that you don't have those bad intentions, and we are gonna help you achieve them. So that, I think it was interesting. And in Sweden there are a few of those other examples that I saw, and I think there are even many of them. And on the other side of that, I also saw in other places, in other countries, or in other systems, also this other example. They exist. And even though I know that these two versions exist, in which one do I live? In which system that I also live my life? Because I'm also a system, right? The individual is also a system. It's made of parts. So, how I could learn from Sweden that conflicts, which on the surface seems to be conflicting, so needs, but Sweden shows that they could work together. Sweden shows that, like, to get one, you don't have to give up on the other one. And also there could be the other example, right? On the other edge, like there is a third example. They would just let everything happen. I think that also, for me personally, is not that attractive. That is also not like that. Sometimes when it may sound like, when you talk about this, it sounds like that. No, it sounds like some people would assume that would be the system that I am idealizing. And no, I don't want no rules at all. That's not what I'm saying. Actually, now that's also funny, right? When you start to talk about the validity of rules, in such cases, they're like, oh yeah, you don't want any red lights in traffic? No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying life is not 0 and 1. There are some middle cases, there are some edge cases. And I'm just curious and wondering if all that could be included freedom, like not like we're fitting life in our solutions, but I think our solutions should fit into life. We are simplifying reality based on the solutions that we have, but that's not the way to go for. I think it should be the other way. The solutions should find a life, not the other way around. And so I think what would be the other, the third case here, like the third system? Like, yeah, you're allowed to do anything you want. What is it? That one? Is it anarchy? No, that's not what I want. That's that I don't know what it is. I don't want to use some labels for that. That's not what I want. It took me some time to understand that, actually. In the past, it seemed like that. It seemed like that would be what I wanted. You know, it's like I wanted to do everything I want. You know, who are you to tell me what to do? How dare you to limit me? You cannot do that. You know, how dare you to limit my freedom? And I think at the time that approach looked nice, because like I was maybe thinking from one direction. That's a bit dangerous, because if I want that for myself, I should give that to everybody also. It's like if I am free to do anything I want, then everybody else is free to do what they want. And I didn't understand for a long time. That like there is a limit to freedom. The real freedom is with the limit. So if you take freedom without a limit, that would be like anarchy, I think. You could have limits with freedom. That is also a system. But I think in Sweden's example, there is a freedom, but it's with limits. It's with limits. Their starting point, it's not limiting. In this other system, it starts with limit. It's a limit with freedom. There is already a limit. There is no freedom. Or maybe it's the other way around, but anyway, I think I made my point.